Hello, and welcome to the Blue Pencil Sessions. This is where we take a look at your opening pages and give you our thoughts and feedback. I'm Eileen. I'm here today with my colleagues, Crystal and Donna. Hello, ladies. And we welcome all of you guys to the Creative Academy. Today we are taking a look at Lily's piece. This is the beginning of a noir novel or actually novella that she is working on called A Love Affair with Detroit. So I'm going to say first as a start off, I love that title. I think it's a great title. Just to give everyone sort of a backstory, a little bit of picture is Lily and I are going to be working together more on this. So I'm going to save some of my comments for when I'm working with Lily on the big picture, because I think it's going to be important for that. And we're just going to focus on those first 750 words. So just kind of narrowing in on those first 3 pages. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to open with saying noir is kind of interesting, and some people don't know, like, what exactly is that? And so thinking about things like the Maltese Falcon and some of those kind of old Humphrey Bogart movies will put you in the sense. So it tends to be a little bit gritty. They tend to be urban stories. And I thought that was one thing that this was settled really comfortably in that genre, is that it felt dark and gritty. There was a lot of descriptions about Detroit. And I grew up in Michigan, so I recognize them. So, there's talks about, like, he's walking up the stairs at one point and he's angry at his neighbor because she's supposed to leave the light on because theirs is the only 2 houses on the block that are still inhabited. So things like that I thought just gave a great sense. But we're still early in this piece. So Crystal, I'm curious from you, what kind of things were you noticing?
Yeah, so I'm really curious. I haven't read a lot of noir, so I will be a newbie on that front. And so it was more the things around just following the story itself. So because this is our first introduction, and I think it's from the very beginning, we are just getting introduced to Troy, in this case, is the point of view character. And so one of the things I noticed was just following his timeline. It was a fairly stream of consciousness, and that I think we're inside Troy's head. It feels like we're sort of seeing the story unfold through his eyes, and he's remembering a lot in this scene. So one of the things that I was having a little bit of trouble with was placing the timeline on some of the sort of flashback moments or things that, so there's something would happen in the room or a song would come on and it would remind him of this other time that song was on, and it places him into a memory. And so I think there's some room to clear up some questions around the timeline a little bit. Like, if you're going to have a flashback, where did we go in that flashback? And so just to maybe not worry so much about fitting so much of the backstory in, because it's clear you've really done your homework in terms of knowing who your characters are and knowing a lot about their history and setting up a lot of what's happening in the current scene with that backstory. But I think we don't necessarily need to know all of it right up front. Like, you could sort of hold back a little bit more on some of those details and have them revealed, either through deep point of view or in a different way. So one of the suggestions I did have for you to maybe help clear some of that up was if you take this scene and put yourself right deep into Troy's point of view and maybe try writing it from first person, just so that we can follow it through in the same way that Troy is. And if you wrote it in the I think it would ground it a little bit more. Not to say you have to put your whole book like that, but just as an exercise in this scene so that you get really comfortable with exactly what Troy is thinking and feeling. And it's a lot easier to express that from first person often. So that, I think, would be just a neat exercise for you to do.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And for you, Donna.
Can I talk now? I don't disagree with what Crystal said. There were a couple of times I got a little bit confused, but, so Lily submitted more than 750 words, about double. And so the very first thing I did was figured out where that 750 words was and highlighted a line and thought, well, I'm just going to focus on those 750 words. And so 2 things happened. One is I couldn't stop reading, so I read the entire thing. So I was engaged in the characters and their situations. It's Crystal, your suggestion that this is backstory and maybe it doesn't belong here, maybe, but also from my perspective, I could see each of the scenes. It just they weren't fitting together for me, but I could see each of those scenes so beautifully. And I really loved the rhythm. And I don't know if that's part of noir, but short sentence, like there was tension building just by the structure of the sentences, which I liked. And I'm really curious about these characters. I'm curious and I'm intrigued, and I really like Troy, and I love the way Detroit is being painted. I'm really looking forward to seeing this love affair. So
yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. And my big take home, and don't you worry, Lily, we'll be talking in more detail when I've read the whole piece, because I do want to see how it all fits together, is just making sure we're in a really clear point of view so that we know where we are and when things are happening. I think will make a big difference, because Troy is a fascinating character with this sort of poetic, artistic, musician side to him, and yet all these other things that are going on for him. So he's kind of an interesting character that way. But I think the reader can get a little bit lost around where are we and what's happening. And we want to make sure that they have that, especially at the beginning, which is a good take home for everyone. Make sure in those opening paragraphs and pages that the reader is really clearly grounded. And then I think you have a little bit more latitude.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is good advice for everyone. And also a reminder for anyone, if you would like us to take a look at your pages, we would love to do that. And you can submit those to the red pencil or the blue pencil, depending on if you're looking for some query support or if you're looking for some pages support. And until then, we'll see you guys around.
750 words.
750 words.
Because we love reading this stuff, and it's not fair. I could spend all day reading these things.
Fair enough. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.